What are they interested in? So, I mean, just coming up with some ideas, and I'll use some of the whiteboards here. What do we want to know about parents? And some of the things from the research that I've done is like, what do they understand about, for example, progress monitoring? I mean, we use these tests to, well, for a variety of reasons. We use them for placement, we use them for summer school, but do parents really understand what is the ISAT test, what is the MAP test? We're moving towards the Common Core. I mean, teachers, we're having a hard enough time as we're gaining the understanding of the Common Core. You know, when will parents, you know, when will we expose parents to this information? Another topic we might want to know is how familiar are the parents with community resources? And Gina, you mentioned the library,
Yeah.
and that's probably one of the biggest ones. So I'll put that right under there as well. Another thing that we want to find out about parents is, and I know you brought up, Gina, like, do they ask, how is your day? You know, where really it doesn't matter what the language is.
Right.
But, you know, do they, what kind of activities do parents do at home? I know could anybody think of another example other than the, you know, how was your day conversation? You know, it could be reading at bedtime.
Right.
It could be, do they read or do they tell stories? You know, so I'm going to go ahead and put that up to read or tell stories to their children.
Talking about current events too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Current events. Absolutely. Another, like, thinking about, you know, other activities. Do they draw or paint at home with their kids? And please feel free, if you want to throw anything up there, you know, let me know. We can definitely, I mean, there's a lot of things. Homework help came up. Earlier. And library, or I'm going to even put bookstore visits, because even I mean, one of our colleagues even here, I remember when the bookstores were closing a couple of years ago, and she mentioned, I'm going to miss that so much. You know, at least once a month we'd go on a family outing to the bookstore. But we want to know, like, are the parents in our community, who is doing that? I mean, are they even aware of doing activities like that? And, you know, if not, I mean, there's stores like Half Price Books that are still open, or the public library. So basically, is there anything else we might want to add to this at this point? I mean, this is just the start, but remember, the point of this is this. If we're going to send home a parent survey, we want it to be our first building block in this framework of the family literacy program here at our school. And, you know, the building blocks and help us with that, you know, fostering that homeschool relationship. So I want us to think about something else. What do we already do? What have you guys seen in your classrooms, or what do you guys do with teachers you co-teach with, or in your own classrooms, that already you know, feel falls into this realm of fostering, you know, family literacy? I mean, an example could be like book bags. I don't know if any of the teachers or any of you sent home like a book bag, or I know, like, when my child's in kindergarten, they bring home a book in a Ziploc bag, and, you know, they were really cute and short stories, and they would, you know, do a little book report, draw a picture of your favorite part of the story, but anything like that. Book bags would be an example.
We do we send homework folders home with notes and homework for the day, and sometimes explanations on homework and stuff like that.
Be signed off on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that too.
Okay, good.
Summer reading lists.
Summer reading lists, those are great examples, and I mean, that's definitely a part of the timeline of what we want to accomplish is summer reading, eventually get to that. Also reading logs, a lot of teachers might send home a reading log that at the end of the week, the parents would sign or initial that, my child read 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the evening, so those are some things. Now what happens at our level, because we're a middle school, is that, and I gave even the example of my child being in kindergarten, is that as you move from elementary to middle school, which is where we're at now in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, is that a lot of these things start to decrease. And, the kids don't want to deal with it, and the parents are busier, or maybe they want to be involved, but they don't even expect it to. I mean, it's easy to be involved when your child's 4 and 5 years old, but when they're 12 and 14, that's one of the problems we have.
They have many siblings too. A lot of them have other younger siblings that the parents tend to try to focus on the younger ones. And
Right.
then the older ones kind of, if they don't want to do it on their own,
Mhm.
the parents are focusing on the younger kids.
Right. And that could be a
We've seen that.
challenge.
We've seen that for sure.
I mean, the parents, regardless of whether it's even us as we're parents or becoming parents, or if the students' parents, I mean, there's a lot of other responsibilities, and especially even looking at, right now, you hear on the news, the economy, all these things going on, there's a lot of responsibilities parents have. Whether it's, it's not only the one child in front of us, they have other children, they may have parents they're helping out with jobs, so there's a lot of things. But that's why it's important that we're not always just sitting back, that we're also reaching out and making these things available so that we can provide support that the parents need. So basically what we want to do is, not only reflect on the success of things we've done or are already doing, but also think about how we could adapt these things more for the middle school model as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to work on creating a parent survey this afternoon while we're together. So I've put it together, or I found online an example of a reading survey for parents. So if you want to take a minute to go ahead and look at that. So after you've taken a look at the survey, if you wouldn't mind turning and talking with a partner for about a minute or so, maybe sharing a comment or a question you might have, okay?
Should Google ask looking at the survey?
Mhm.
How many of your kids' parents would fill this out?
Yeah, that would be
One?
my. I don't know.
None? Even the English speaking ones,
Yeah.
how many would take their, who would answer that question? You wouldn't even answer that question. I mean, I would, but I read constantly. I mean, this question, nobody's answering that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what do you think? What did we think about? I see that there was a question in particular that
Yeah.
sparked some conversation. Which one's that from?
5 and 6.
Okay.
Who are your favorite authors and what have you read that changed you in some way and how? I believe there's many, many, many parents that would not even, they would just omit that, like it wouldn't even be. And some parents, at least in my experience, some parents would see that almost as talking down to them, and then they would just omit the entire survey.
Yeah.
They would
It could be a turn on. You think this
Yeah, turn
survey
off,
maybe
yeah.
is a little snooty?
just asking parents of middle schoolers in the socioeconomic background that is our suburbs, yeah, I think they would think that that's talking down to them.
Okay. Let's think about it like this. Looking at this survey, what questions do we think are valuable from this survey that could help us gain some understanding of our parents and our students?
What would you say? 1,
Yeah, number 1, number 3.
number 3, number 4.
Number 1 is, why do you read? And it has the I don't, business, pleasure, both. Number 3, do you see your children reading? Which was the other one?
Number 4.
Number 4, did you read aloud to your children when they were younger? Do you still? Okay, who are your favorite authors and what have you read that changed you in some ways are, you know, are uppity questions.
Yeah.
We agree on that?
Yes, for
Yes.
sure.
Okay. What do you think of number 7? Describe your child as a reader. Please include what you see as their strengths and weaknesses, areas they need to improve. What do you think of that?
If we could reword it, maybe. But I think describe your child as a reader, again, some people would just take that as like you're judging. By just saying that, I think they would like, some parents would not be able to do that, and therefore they would think like you're passing judgment on them because they couldn't do that.
And a lot of people say, like, when you're doing parent conferences, for example, you know, talking about someone's child is like talking about them. You know, the parents. I mean,
Yeah.
people are, I mean, it's their child, so.
Exactly.
You have to be very careful.
You have to be careful how you word things because you can easily offend somebody who you aren't trying to offend. You're asking a question, but they see it as you're passing judgment on what they do or don't do.
Right. Okay,
And
good.
that's kind of what that looks like to me.
What do you
But I
think
think
about,
it's a good question.
Gina, what do you think about the last question? If necessary, would you be willing to work with your child at home to build reading skills?
I think that's a good question. I think it's important to know.
Yeah, and even that one may be a different wording, you know, what would help you or something like
Yeah.
that. Well, if we're gonna choose 3 or 2 or 5 of these questions, which ones do you think would be good to include on the survey we're gonna work on creating today? The number 1?
I think number 1 for sure. Why do you
Uh-huh.
think? Yeah.
Why do you read? Okay.
And then number 3, do your children see you reading?
Okay,
Number 2, what do you read?
okay. That would be a good one because, why do you think that one would be good, Frank?
Because everybody reads something.
Mhm.
Even if they're reading their mail, they're still reading something.
Right, that's
So-
good. And that's not an option here. But it could be like, I guess the other could be
Yeah,
like the
there's
mail,
no-
but it is newspapers, magazines, books.
It's important to know if they're reading only informational text, if they're only reading magazines, newspapers, informational text, if they don't read for pleasure at all.
So, what do we say, maybe the 1 through 4, and you know what I'd like you to do, if you guys wouldn't mind, is maybe take a minute or two to look at number 7, and maybe work together or in pairs to reword it, and you can even make it more brief, to reword it into a little bit, you know, how would we like a question like that? So do you want to take a minute or two and do that together and just jot it down? I probably have another blank copy of this, so.
Okay.
Well, I'll give you guys blank copies at the end, so you have that as well.
Probably refuse. I would say you definitely want to make that first. So, describe your child as a reader. It seems very like, that's judgment. Let's see. So what if you put what?